The lack of communicating sometimes on some of these projects causes the issue.
It's really not the job going south, it's the communication going south. We got the same goal, get this building built profitably at a quality level. And I know absolutely for a fact that if you show people you care, your business will grow.
Hello, everybody. This is Scott Peper with Mobilization Funding, and you are listening to the Real MF'ERS. We are so excited to bring this show to you, and we have the perfect guest to start things off. His name is Charles Covey from Alphapex, president, founder, great friend. We're going to talk about all kinds of exciting things today, from whack-a-moles to unicorns to how you can grow your construction business, marketing, safety, just differentiating yourself to be what a kick-ass construction company looks like. Charles, welcome.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me. This is great.
You're welcome, man. I really appreciate you joining us. You are the perfect guest to start this series off. You know, when we think of, we talk about mobilization funding all the time, and we always refer to it as MF, or really what happened was our customers would just call us MF, or friends, investors, people would say, oh, MF, and shorten it. And then we had the idea, albeit 6 years after we started, that maybe we should start coming up with a bunch of group of folks call them Real MF'ERs. Well, you are the first Real MF'er, Charles.
Very cool to see that terminology. Like when I first saw the invite, I thought, that's really good branding. It matches MF'er and their company name. Couldn't have done it any better.
If you would, just for the audience, why don't you take a couple minutes and just let them know about yourself, your business, where you're at. And then we'll dive into some questions that I have for you based on some of the things I know about you personally and collectively, and really get into it.
Well, I started construction at 16. So I grew up on a farm, and on a farm, if you got something to do, you got to do it yourself. There's nobody coming to help you. So we just learned how to build stuff. We built barns, and we fixed cars, and we built fence, and we did all this stuff that was necessary with our hands. So going from that to construction was really a very smooth transition. So when I was 16, I started framing houses and just loved it. Just love construction, love the people. I love being able to just see that building appear from nothingness right in front of you. And I've just always identified with that and just passionately love the business and the people in it. So I really started, that hammer swinging history really guides a lot of the stuff that I do now, because I was that guy. I was the lowest man on the totem pole, making a few dollars an hour, on that roof in the Texas sun. And so I've been in that position. And that's really how we've built the business, is really prioritizing the field and prioritizing the people that actually grind this out every day. As far as the business itself, I was working in commercial construction for a large general contractor, and I was always looking, what are those ways that I can get into business for myself? What are those ways that I can be an entrepreneur? And waterproofing came up pretty often as a problem area. Come on, guys, is there anybody that can take care of this scope and get it done well? And I just wasn't finding those guys. So I thought that was our opportunity. That was a chance for us to really disrupt a little bit this market. So if you think about our particular space, so Dallas-Fort Worth, kind of North Texas area, very busy, always been a good construction hub, a lot of growth here for the last 20, 30 years. And the waterproofing space, there's 3 or 4 competitors, and they're all 25 or 30 years old, and they're still doing it about the same way they've always done it. So that was a really good spot for us, to be the innovator, to be the disruptor, to kind of jump in that space and turn it upside down a little bit. So we don't have to completely revolutionize it. We just have to do things a little bit better, a little bit more innovative. And that's how we ended up where we're at. So it's just really taking the approach of every day trying to be a little bit better, seeking out what are the processes that can change. It turns out almost everything can stand a little bit of change.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be brand new, just doing the same thing in a different, better way.
Agreed. Most of the things that I'm doing, that you're doing every single day, can be improved on. Like, let's not pretend that the human race has just perfected existence. There's so many things that we do that we can improve on. So we're just always seeking out what are those things, and what are the ones that really impact the bottom line and really impact the people around us and impact those buildings that we build. So we try to find those.
Well, it's funny. One of the things that I always admired about you and your story, I obviously share a similar background in construction. My father had a commercial glazing business, and I worked in and around that business all the time on the job sites, and really developed the same passion for construction as you did. Albeit I ended up in this field or in and around it in a much different way, but the genesis of the enticement to it was there. One of the things that I always found really intriguing about you is you did find this waterproofing space. And as you mentioned, I've always heard in and around our world here in the last 6 years, just that scope being very difficult. And if you can find someone that does it, they either don't do it as well as they could or is wanted, or it's just hard. And you seem to have figured not only out the hard, but also how to maximize that opportunity, but deliver a great product, do it efficiently, and run a great business. You started to touch a little bit on the origin of how you got into the waterproofing side, but can you talk a little bit about where you saw the problem area was, and then how you decided to get yourself up to speed quickly on what waterproofing is, how to make it better, and then most importantly, how did you execute on that?
Yeah, the biggest deal that I was seeing as a project manager, as a superintendent for a GC, I did both of those roles, is that the subcontractors in the waterproofing space, they didn't have the client's interest in mind. They had their own interest in mind, for damn sure. But where was that customer service? Where was that high level of care for what helps the client be better? So yeah, of course they wanted that change order for them, but what about the client? What about the person, who hired them on the job? How do we make them better? And it was really easy for me mentally to go from that approach. I don't know why some people have an issue with that approach, but I'm in the business for my clients, plain and simple. And really that was the spot that we saw. Like, nobody's really operating at a high level of customer service, but it's not that complicated. So if you come at it with the right mindset, it's really been game changing, I think, in our space. And it's been a wake up call for a lot of subcontractors in our area to really elevate their game to a higher level of customer service.
Did you find that to be in every scope, or just particularly waterproofing? That opportunity?
There's great question. I think there's space for improvement in every scope. Waterproofing is unique a little bit in that it's not a scope that the GC has time to really understand on an infinitely detailed level. But the devil's in the details with this scope. You have to know them. And so if they don't have a trusted partner that they can go to, now it's on them to try to figure this shit out. And that is not an easy thing with our scope, just because there's so much minutia. And if it leaks, it's $1 million problem just that quick. And so I think having that trusted partner that could really elevate their customer service game and still be knowledgeable and still be a high quality installer, I think that was a spot that was underserved. And our clients can attest, like it's been a really welcome thing for them in the marketplace to have somebody like us to turn to. Hey, we're not perfect. We have a lot of human beings that do things wrong a lot because they're imperfect, me especially. But I think that mindset of, hey, we're in it to serve our clients and to really help them be better at their job, I think that's the key element.
It's funny to hear you say that, because I talk to a lot of our clients and just general contractors, people in general, and few humans think that way, whether it's on the general contractor side or the subcontractor side. Maybe it's the GC thinking about it for the owner, or the sub, or really the GC thinking about how important the sub is on the contract for that, or on the project for them. I think if one of the things I like to talk about a lot is if everyone would just sit down and have a real conversation and stop that hedging against each other. As a third party on a construction project, seeing it from both sides and really having a vested interest in nothing more than just the success of the project. Because for us, yes, we have a client that is our direct borrower, but that general contractor and the owner on the project is just as much of a client of ours, because we are completely linked to one thing and one thing only, and that is the performance on the project. If that project performs, that means our subcontractor performs, that means the GC performed, that means the owner got what they wanted, and money flows all the way down the hill to everybody, and everybody's happy. And it's what I always find is the lack of communicating sometimes on some of these projects causes the issue. And it's like, I don't want to tell them that, and I'm going to fight this and push against that. And if everyone just sit down and say, you know what, this is what I'm great at, this is what I'm not, this is where I need help, this is where I don't, it seems like it'd be so much easier for a construction project.
Now, I think you've hit that nailed right on the head, because for us, I think that at the very least, can't we just get the real stuff? Like, why do we have to, I got to hold my cards to my chest. I don't want to let them know. Let's just be real. Let's just be honest with each other. Let's just be upfront about the problems that we see, because ultimately that upfront communication, getting all that out on the table, that's what the project needs to move. And so trying to hold on to some information because that might help us later, that's bullshit. Like, we're trying to get our client and their building to the end in a profitable and expedient manner with a quality building. Like, you need the information to flow. And so I think that that's something that I don't know, like subcontracting and general contracting has gotten to a really interesting point where it's a combative space sometimes. You see this, you see jobs go south, and really, it's really not the job going south. It's the relationship going south. It's the communication going south. And if you can hedge that by just being real, just being upfront, just being honest with the client about what's going on, and let all that information just be on the table as a discussion point. And I think that perspective, hey, we're not perfect. We have communication issues at times, but I think that being upfront and real with our clients is a really big differentiator. I'm trying to think of an example. Like a lot of times when we're doing contract buyout, I'll tell the client, I really think that you should hold us accountable for this particular thing. Let's make this language pretty broad because you need us to finish this result and cover this whole scope for you. So let's make this language a little bit broad because I know that's good for you. And then on this thing over here, it's a little vague. Like you kind of got me wrapped into this other guy's scope. Let's clarify this one here. So I'm trying to buy out a contract that's good for them and me. And it's not that complex. Let's just all work together as a team. We got the same goal, get this building built profitably at a quality level. And it's not that complicated.
When you and I first met, one of the things I admired, I don't even know if you remember this part of the conversation, but I was in your office and we were talking through the scopes and just having a general conversation about the construction. And one of the things I thought was really interesting about your particular scope and what you have to manage around that I always hear a lot of people talk about is they're always blaming the other trade. Oh, they're slowing me down. This trade's slowing me down. I don't have the site yet, or they screwed this up so I can't do my thing. More than any other scope, you probably touch just about every other trade on that job. I mean, whether it's walls, roofing, electrical, plumbing. I mean, you're sealing, for everyone who doesn't know what waterproofing is, you're sealing the structure. You're making it waterproof, obviously. So you're on the walls, you're around the windows, you're near the joints, you're near the roof lines, anything that connects to anything. You have the opportunity to blame everybody for any problem you want, but yet when you and I talk, you never blame anybody. Never. Yeah,
we have to be careful with that. Like sometimes somebody screwed up and I can't start because they didn't do their job. But I'm not just going to send a letter, hey, we're delayed, this other guy sucks. I'm going to come out and say, hey, this thing needs to go, these 4 changes need to be made, and then we'll be able to start as soon as possible. Yeah, sometimes there has to be some work back and forth, but it doesn't have to be in a combative manner. We can just, hey, this is the facts. I need this to keep moving. Let's do it together. It's like, providing the solution instead of just putting the blame. But you see that, you're right. I mean, the blame gets pushed in the contracting space so many times. Like, well, it's just somebody else's problem. But we try to own the problem. Like some other trade has a thing. Let's walk it through. Let's make sure that we're there. Make sure it gets done right and own the problem. We want to carry that on our shoulders. And I think our client appreciates that. When a client comes at us and says, hey guys, you didn't do this thing. I mean, if it's true, I'm going to take the client side. Be like, yeah, you're right. We screwed that up. Now I'm going to look right at my PM and be like, what the hell is going on? And why aren't you taking care of this client? Just going to call them out because it's real. That's actually what happened. And I'm going to take the client side. I'm not going to push back and pretend that we didn't screw up because, yeah, we're human and we messed some things up and we're going to own that shit and we're going to fix it quick.
You've talked about some of the early days. How did you maintain the success level as you grew and scaled, hiring talent, finding talent, and doing these jobs and keeping up that level of performance?
Well, I'll tell you, if you want, I'll give you what I think is the absolute single biggest factor. I don't worry about Alphapex money. That seems crazy, right? Like, how could that be? How could you run a business and not worry about the money? Yeah, I review the financials. I know what's going on with the money, but I don't make the money my first concern. So I'm going to measure the other things. Are we the safest in the business? Are our clients getting taken care of and the building's getting built on time and correctly? Are we solving the client's problem? Are we so good at helping them with their job that they're not going to go anywhere else? So if I worry about all those things, ultimately, I'm worrying about their money. So if you think about this, so I'm worrying about what gets them to their money faster. So for the client, that's going to be getting the building done, getting demobilized and off the site, no callbacks, no leaks, no warranty issues over the course of the job. And then for, what about my suppliers? They're very critical to the chain of things that we do. I got to worry about them. Yeah, I'm going to write them a check, but I still need to be worried about their money because I'm going to need them. So I worry about getting them paid quickly, making sure that our ordering processes allow them to be efficient. They get to make more money. They love us. And then our staff, our team, people that are on our team, I worry about their money. Are they getting paid top of the market? Are they in a work environment that they want to be there? We're not just working them into the ground and in the way that construction is known for. So I'm worrying about everybody else's money And then guess what happens to Alphapex company funds? Most of the time, it pretty much takes care of itself. Now, when I try to explain this to people at first, they're like, this is pretty crazy. How can you not worry about your money? But I do. I worry about everybody else's money. And then Alphapex gets taken care of.
Instilling that culture in yourself is one thing, but you've grown now. You have over 100 employees. Culture is very important. It's on your website. It's on your paperwork. It's on your documents. It's in your company logo. It's everywhere. And you can tell you've worked really hard on that. Talk a little bit about how you developed that culture, how you implemented it, and what you do to keep it going.
So the core values are not done for show. They're not done to impress. They're done to create a mindset framework. And so those core values there's 5 elements in the Alphapex core values, and some of our other businesses have a slightly different set of values based on the decisions that need to be made in that business. So it's a decision tree, and we create those core values. So this is not just a thing that we put on the wall just because it looks nice and has bright colors and it checks the box of, yeah, we have them. It's a decision-making process for every single thing that pops up. So we had to run through these, okay, we think these are the core values. We got 6 or 7 here, and run through every possible scenario we could. Does this word or this phrase help our team make decisions and be better and take the company to the places we want to go? And I expect at some point those core values will adjust as the goals and needs of the company change. So it's a decision-making tree that goes with us every moment of every day. And I think that some people just look at, well, we want some nice words that look pretty and we can put them on the wall. But what are they going to do for you? What are those words going to do to actually improve the business and take it to a new level?
When is your team first introduced to your core values?
Immediately. The core values are in the onboarding paperwork. They've agreed in the onboarding paperwork. They have to read them. They have to understand what they mean, and they have to agree to uphold them. If you don't uphold the core values, buddy, you're out. So that's a pretty quick one. And I think that's really, people understand pretty quickly that's the way that the business runs. And we talk about it to our clients too. It's a selling point. I was at a client yesterday, in Fort Worth, and we were doing a presentation for their field team. So all their superintendents and assistant superintendents, and we were talking about waterproofing and quality and the other items that we do every day, and just try to help their team be better. Just, free information. I want to help these guys be better and help them understand our scope of work. And they're super appreciative, great group. But we talk about the core values there, like, hey, this is the expectation that we have of our team. And if you see somebody not matching it, please let us know. That's a really interesting thing. We promote those core values to the client, and I'll get a phone call or a text occasionally. Hey, just so you know, I saw one of your guys on the site. You're probably going to want to know about this. And I'll get a text. They're not upset at me, but they know that I would care, and they know that I have a super high expectation, and they'll let me know. And I really appreciate that. That's been a pretty cool thing of, really pushing that to the clients, letting them know that, hey, we're a high-level organization, well-developed. We have these core values that are a functional part of how we operate, and they'll help us watch out for them, which is really neat.
So this is such a good topic, and it's hard. It's also a hard topic, especially for a business owner. And I speak from experience. It's hard. It's hard for me. I think it's something I'm always working on, is how can we make our culture better? How can we keep our culture the way it is? And always coming up with new and creative ways to do that, or keep new and creative ways to keep what we have going, to your point.
I always have to do a disclaimer. Hey, I'm an asshole. It's just kind of how I'm wired. My wife has to make sure when we go to client events, she tells them up front, hey, just so you know, I'm the nice one. Charles is an asshole. Don't hold it against him.
She called you a nice asshole. She said you're the nicest asshole that she knows.
That's true. Yeah, she does say that. I'm the nicest asshole she knows.
Charles, one of the other things I really wanted to cover with you was I think you do a great job marketing your business. We've talked about some of the ways you separated yourself with your customers and your clients. But one of the things that I really want you to discuss is just your overall general philosophy on marketing, what you were doing in the past, what you've been doing along the way, what you've learned, what you think might change with your marketing moving forward, or just what you think is going to change here in construction.
Our approach to marketing is virtually the same thing that we do on the job site. We talked about this in some previous things of, we're worried about the client. What does the client need to be better? And so our marketing really is that way too. So we're giving a lot of information. The client wants to see their project. They want to see nice, pretty video of their project as it goes together. They're emotionally invested in this project that they've put hundreds or thousands of hours into. So we're going to definitely showcase those projects and let them see it and let their friends see it. We're going to share information with them either in person in their office or with a lunch and learn or with videos on YouTube or on the different social media channels or different things that we send out that help them be better at their job with the things that we know, which is our scope of work. So help them understand how to QA/QC our work, how to understand our work, how to help direct their project regarding the things that we do in Division 7. And so our marketing is very similar to the way we put work in place. And that's really be focused on what does the client need to be better. And then we don't really ask that much. We find that if we give a lot and we do have that ask of, hey, let's do this job together, that ask is welcome because we've been giving so much before that. So if you think about this, it ties back to that whole thing of helping the client get to their goals or be better at their thing. So birthdays, anniversaries, these things mean a lot. That's an emotional tie. So as a marketer or as a business owner, you want to tie your business name and the things you do every day to an emotional connection. And birthdays are a really good way to do that. We've found that a lot of our people that we work with, our clients, their own companies don't even remember their birthday. The card that they get from us might be the only thing they got that day from somebody outside their family. So it has a really emotional connection and impact, and it's very, very long lasting. People remember these things for a long time. So just an example, I don't believe I have one handy, but we do pocket knives for birthdays. So it's a pocket knife and it's got their name on it. And then we've got a birthday card that is signed by everybody in the office wishing them a very happy birthday, and they receive that. Now this is a big task because you have to have a database of all your clients, their contact information, where they are, what company they're at, how to get to them, what their birthdays are. It's got to be accurate, otherwise you look like an idiot. So this is a lot of information, and it's hard, and that's why most people don't do it. And so I think that in marketing, you've got to look, what's that next step? What's that really hard thing that you don't want to do, but nobody else is doing it, so you really should do it? And that's what we found is the real differentiator. What's the hard thing to do to connect to your client? Go do that. Because chances are your competitors won't.
It's invaluable. And anytime you're attaching a memory to you and your business of something you've done that's really been emotional to that person, it's going to be more memorable and more impactful. And those are two great things every time.
But how often do you get gifts? They send you a gift. We're going to use gift loosely because it's just an item that has the company's name on it. That's not for you. No. That's just general. They're giving you a generalization of, well, we kind of feel nice about you. But if somebody goes through the effort to document all these things, it took us forever to get all these names and emails and addresses together and birth dates. But once you do that and you identify that you care about them as a human being on their birthday, which has intrinsic meaning and something special, something custom, something you made for them, it's really a very important connection, I think. But we don't give anything to a client without their name on it. Does anybody throw away something with their name on it? Absolutely not. They keep that thing forever. So we've seen these different colored Yetis that we've given to people. They're 5, 6 years old. They're just beat to shit. And they're still carrying that thing around on the job site every day because they love it. It's got their name on it. And that's really cool for us and our brand and for what we stand for. And they really cherish that. So that's cool. I would say putting somebody's name on a gift is really impactful. Just don't give it to them if you can't put their name on it.
I'm trying to think back. Have I thrown anything out that had my name on it other than junk mail? And I would probably say no.
You should see our office around Christmas time. So we might send out 500 or 600 custom gifts around Christmas time. Can you imagine the volume? Like, how do you keep track of that many custom gifts? You got to check the names. You got to check the addresses. People move between companies all the time. Got to make sure you're taking it to the right location. Yeah, it's a logistical nightmare, but it's totally worth it. I definitely kudos to my wife, Alicia, who handles all of those elements of the business. And she does a next level amazing job to get that done and keep it organized. Everything goes out wrapped nicely with a bow on it, with the name tag, our branding, their name, custom gift.
It's awesome, man. Finding new and creative ways and helping people when no one else is or when fewer people are is so important. And if you just generally focus on helping the person and helping people in general, anyone you come in contact with, but especially your customers, especially your team, you're going to be so much better off. And it's so much easier to manage your business because the decisions are easier. You do what's right.
You have to have the long game in mind. This stuff that we do is not a short-term thing. You don't see a monetary result quickly.
No, and you know you're not doing it for a monetary result either.
Right.
And who knows? You'll never tie an ROI to how many custom gifts you bought. You know, doesn't mean you can add more money to the project. Doesn't mean any of those things. It just means it's what's right. It helps separate you. It keeps you more memorable in a game where everybody can be very similar.
Right. Yeah, it's a differentiator, and I know absolutely for a fact that if you show people you care, your business will grow.
100%. One of the other key things that you have talked about a lot with me before is the systems that you've implemented and processes and how those have helped you really scale not only your team, but your internal and external capabilities, your customer experience, how you interact with your clients. Can you talk a little bit about some of those systems, how you put them in place, how they help you, and what they do for you, what they have done for you?
I think systems are hypercritical in scaling a business. Now, you can run a small business and you can do a few $100,000 or $1 million a year and you can run it all out of your brain, but you're not going to grow that much because you become the weak link. And I've done it. And I would go, how come I can't grow this business? What's going on? Oh, wait a minute. I'm the weakest link. And I think in construction, it's kind of like the snowball starts rolling down the hill and we're just kind of going down this hill and things pick up momentum and you start getting clients and you start doing work and the work keeps coming in. And you're going so fast, and the speed that we have to operate, and this problem, and this problem, and this problem, and this problem, I like to call it whack-a-mole. You ever played that game? You know, take the kids to Chuck E. Cheese or whatever, and you're just whacking. But really, what makes a big difference as an owner or as a manager or as somebody that has a place to control what's going on is to slow down a little bit. If you let it, construction will drive you 100 miles an hour for the rest of time. You're never going to get caught up. So you have to make that pause happen. You have to create that pause, sit back, look at your business from 30,000 feet, or look at your department that you manage from 30,000 feet and say, hey, what can I do to extend my abilities as a manager or as an owner? What can I do to extend my team's abilities? And I think something that construction is really known for, and I think this section on systems is probably going to be the most critical. It's a little bit boring at times, but it's probably the most critical for your listener if they really want to make some money. And so I hope they're paying attention because this is what's been really impactful for us. So you think about construction and, you know, the systems are oftentimes just lacking. We're running down that hill so fast and the momentum's going. And so we're just playing this whack-a-mole and just trying to get to the next thing. By the time you solve the next problem, boom, the other one's already popped up and boom, then the next one. And we're just trying to get to the next day. You ever felt like that, Scott? You know, just trying to get through the shit from today so I can go home, kick back for 20 minutes, and then get up tomorrow morning and do that shit again. And in construction, we've got to step back a little bit, look at those problems from a higher level, and find out how we can extend the team's abilities. So from what we've found, that slowing down a little bit is super hard to do and super valuable. So you're thinking, oh, wow, you know, I need to be out on the job site. I need to be managing. I need to be doing these things. You might actually need to just be still for a minute. You might just need to sit in your office with no noise and no phone and think about where you want to go and what things in your business you've been avoiding. I'm guilty of this. What's that big problem that's in the room that you've been pushing? Well, I'm real busy, so I can just deal with it later. Well, then you look up and it's 2 or 3 or 6 years later, and somebody else, they handled that problem. They kicked your ass. So I think system creation is really critical because you want to be able to step back as an owner. I'm not trying to grind this out, taking 100 phone calls a day, playing whack-a-mole for the next 40 years. Hell no. But we see people do it. I know guys that are 70 years old, and they're doing everything exactly the same as they did when they were 30. And they've made some money, and they've done okay. But are they at a peaceful and comfortable state in their life? No. But they could have been. And I think systems are a big part of that. So you have to step back, and you have to map out how your business works. And you've got to find a way to create processes so that things don't get lost. And I digressed a minute there. I want to go back to a point that construction has been in this rut. And I call it hiring unicorns. And so you look at a lot of businesses and how they operate. You look at the field ops manager, or you look at, that head estimator, maybe the project executive that runs a whole team, maybe the president in a bigger organization. They're a unicorn. They're a 1% guy. They're very special in the way that their brain works. They can handle more shit than most people you know. And the business hinges on them. And construction's really bad about this. Or that foreman, that really good foreman. He just wants to be a foreman. And that's great. He has an awesome job. And, that big project can't run without it. Well, that's a big deal. What if he's out for a week? What if something happens, heaven forbid, he has an accident and you don't have a system to accommodate information, and now your unicorn leaves and everything crumbles. So construction has got to really wake up about hiring the unicorns. You can't scale hiring 1%. There's not that many 1% guys. That's how percentage works. So you've got to be able to hire, and you've got to be able to put in place good people that identify with the core values, hard workers. You can't give up on that. But you can't hire the 1% guy for every position. You got to be able to hire maybe they're in the 80% or the 70% or the 60% upper end of the population of that they can follow the things that you do and they can work really hard and identify with those values. And so you've got to build a system so that person can function just as well in the business. The 60% person, the 80% person, the 1% person can still function just as well in the business. And I think that's what systems really do. They allow you to scale. And yes, you've got to have good people, but it doesn't have to be that one unicorn that's so hard to find. And do you see this, Scott? Do you see this in the businesses that you deal with? The one unicorn or the 6 unicorns, maybe they're at the top end of a company. Everything comes to them. And if there's a problem with them, it goes to shit.
Yes, we see that all the time. One of the other things systems do for you and processes is it allows the 1%ers you do have, it allows them to scale their department. Those 1%ers, and one thing that 1%ers have in common is you need to grow because they're going to want to do something different and they're going to want to grow and hire and teach and train and do things. And you need those systems and processes to help them do exactly what you needed to do. And on top of that, one of the things we've always talked about is, you kind of hit the nail on the head, is getting on top of your business instead of in your business. And one of the things we hear a lot of our business owners tell us as they've grown from maybe 1 million to 3 or 4 or 5 million, and they become essentially a unicorn running around doing everything, and they're barely holding on and having everything in their head. And this is the key. One of the things they say to us is, I'm getting the same paycheck right now that I had when I was a $1 million company as I am when I'm a $5 million company.
Yep.
And so
happens a lot.
If you're listening to this and you hear this and that's you, go back to listen to the systems and processes piece again, because the systems and the process are the difference between you having the same paycheck with 100 times more stress as you grow your business, or actually eliminating some of that stress while you're actually able to have more than just a single paycheck, same as you did when you were only a $1 million company.
People ask me a lot, well, how do I even start with the system? You know your business better than anybody. The person at the top, I would assume, in most cases knows a little bit about each department and how it runs. You've got to think about how the information flows, and you can't allow there to be a disconnect in the flow. Think about how construction goes. Okay, so we've got Sally in accounts payable, and she just gets those invoices that come in, and she just knows that on Thursdays, usually on Thursdays, she just takes that stack of paper over and she gets them approved. She just knows it. She's been doing it for 10 years, so she knows. But what if she forgets? And now you got all those suppliers don't get paid. Or what if you had to hire somebody else? And that new person, well, they don't know because they haven't been doing it for 15 years. So you've got to have a process, things like lists, things like flowcharts, things that connect the dots so that people can say, well, this information comes in, then it goes to here. And then this person checks off and it goes to here. And then it goes to here and it does this thing. Then the check's approved. It gets put in an envelope, even to that level of detail, stamped, and it gets sent out. You've got to have things delineated and defined so that you can manage them, so that you can train people for them. If you're growing, you don't need just one Sally in accounts payable. You need 3 because your business is going to do $100 million. And how do you scale that? How do you take all that information and document it? And so systems really are just documenting and then monitoring and managing all of those different things that happen in your company. And contracting and subcontracting, there's a lot of stuff going on. When you start breaking down the processes, oh my gosh, there's hundreds of steps to some of these things and how they happen.
And it's the kind of work that nobody wants to do. I mean, I don't.
Absolutely.
You don't want to do it. It's terrible. It's not fun. It doesn't feel rewarding when you're doing it. There's a great book for those of you that want more information on this and a tactical guide to executing this, and it's called The E-Myth Revisited.
Yeah,
by a guy named Michael Gerber. It's an excellent book. It talks all about systems and processes and scaling. It's very relatable. It's not boring. It's actually a great storytelling book of how it goes from chapter to chapter. It's really, really excellent and well done. I highly recommend reading that. For those of you, as a quick sidebar, that want to get some more detailed tactical info on systems and processes, we could probably have 6 40-minute conversations about that and not give you nearly as much as in that book.
Can I give you an example, a story about one particular system that's massive for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
And this was an issue I saw. I worked at the GC that I worked at. I think they did $600 million last year. Good size operation. And they didn't have a good system for pay apps. Didn't have one. It was just up to the project manager to make sure they didn't miss anything. It wasn't documented. Nobody was checking on it. If something got missed, like literally if they didn't turn in an owner pay app, there was no check and balance to make sure that happened. And we see it, really, really see it in subcontracting. I mean, it's a shit show. And we're built to do a lot of projects, a lot of volume. And as we continue to grow, the average size of those jobs keeps getting bigger, but we're built to do a lot of volume. And to do that, you have to manage the information. So, and you know this really well, pay apps and getting all that billing done in a month, at 20th, 15th to 25th, depending on what the job requires, that time frame, those, 7 to 10 days of the month, the business hinges on that shit. You cannot screw that up. And we're doing, I think we might do 40 pay apps a month or something. And there's a lot of parts and pieces that go with those. And so we were seeing, at first we created a list to make sure that every pay app got done, and make sure they got done on the date. If a pay app's due, got a random GC has a pay app due on the 5th. That's kind of an oddball. But if you do it on the 25th, guess what? It's getting put to the next 5th, and you just miss 30 days worth of cash flow. Big problem. So that happens 2 or 3 times, and you're like, wow, this is not something we can continue. So we make a list of all the jobs that are active, and that way we check off, what happens. You can do it in Excel. You can do it. We do web-based systems. We use Monday.com because it's you can do it on your phone, on your computer. It's cloud-based, so everybody can see the information. It's very modular, so you can make a list, talk to another list. But the basic idea is you create a list of every pay app that has to be done, and then as that pay app gets done, how much the amount was for, what the retainage is, and then that flows to the bottom line. Now you know exactly what your billing was for the month. Well, the other part was, projects were not getting predicted correctly as to what was available to bill during the month. And so you just get to the 20th and, okay, well, this is how much we did, so it's in the pay app. That was not a proactive manner of managing the money and the cash flow. And so we started we use this same list. So the list that's got the pay apps, now that gets an analysis on the first of the month of what work is ahead of us for the next 30 days. What are we going to do? We're going to do this percentage of this, and we're going to do this many feet of this. And you just go down each job, and we're going to hit this many percentage. We're going to hit this percentage. And then we know on the first, by the third, I know on the third what my billing is going to be on the 30th. So from a cash flow standpoint, now I get another extra 30 days to know what the hell's going on, and I can work with that. Also, from a field management standpoint, now our team knows, okay, well, we got these to do. Oh, whoa, we're going to be a little bit short because we start dividing these up, and we know on the first that about the middle of the month, we're going to have kind of a flood of stuff to do. We need to accommodate that. We just bought a couple of extra weeks. We're not going to get that pissed off superintendent asking us why we're not there because we already predicted this. So that whole predictive, proactive nature of that system really allows us to move quickly.
That's key. I mean, without getting those pay apps done, doing them correctly on time, not missing things, being proactive. I mean, in a world where you're paid once a month and you only have the ability to invoice once a month, if you mess it up, it's catastrophic.
Absolutely, it could be. Yeah, I remember the early days of the business. I don't come from any money. My dad's a firefighter. My mom's a nurse. We did not have any advantages. Alicia, my wife, and I, we do this together, and we started this from zero, and almost went broke a few times as we were working through things in cash flow. And that's the deal. The first 2 or 3 years of the business, cash flow was the deal. That was what could have made or broken us a few times in a row. You got to manage the money coming in and coming out, and a system really is the way to go. So I think we're probably 30 to 60 days away from having our system built to where the information flows. Listen to this. This is going to be crazy if we can make it work. I think we're close. So when the job gets sent to us as a opportunity to bid, that information goes in the Monday.com list, and then it will flow to a job that's, if we select to bid it, then it flows to another list. If we bid it, then it goes to another list to follow up on for sales and business development. If we win it, then it goes to another list that when we get the contract, then it goes into our contract department to do submittals, shop drawings, make sure the contract insurance is all done, all those processes. And then from there, it flows to project management. They do their review, put together a review meeting with the field team. Then it flows to field, and then field knows now it's on their list. and then it flows to the calendar, so they know what to schedule it over the next 24 months, and that builds into our schedule system, and then it flows to completion, closeouts, all those last items to finish up the job, and we're done. So literal front to back life cycle of the project. I think we're pretty close to making it happen. It's going to be cool.
That's cool too, if you can get it right from the beginning when you first touch it, when it just isn't, when it might not even be a project yet.
Yeah, that is a challenge in subcontracting. You've got so many fragmented systems. You got your payroll on this system, your timekeeping on this system, and you got your submittals on this system, and then you're probably doing change orders on this one, but then you got contracts saved over here on Dropbox, and it's very fragmented. So there are ways to try to streamline that and make it more efficient. And I think systems are a big part of that.
You're now the first large subcontractor in the United States to have trained 100% of their field staff with OSHA 30 certification. I know that's something you work really hard at. You have more than 400,000 hours of work time with a non-event. And that's across 100+ employees and multiple projects and jobs. So one, I think that's great that you've done that. I think it's a big commitment to your group. I want to recognize you for that. I think it's something that you should be really proud of. What I'd like you to talk about, aside from protecting people's lives and that they don't get hurt, maybe you could talk a little bit about what that's done for your business. I have some ideas, but I'm wondering how that's really helped you and where you've seen some real benefits to your focus on safety.
Well, this one's interesting, and it kind of goes back to what I talked about earlier. I'm worried about everybody else's money or their safety or them in general. So I'm worried about everybody else. And ultimately, I was just really worried about making sure that all of our guys get to go home safe every day. I'll tell you the story. If we have time, I'll tell you the story about how this all originated. I get a little bit emotional because it's a tough one. So we had 3 guys we hired, first started the company. And 2 weeks after we bring them on board, one of the guys falls off a ladder. He's 2 rungs high. He's literally 2 feet off the ground. Falls off the ladder, breaks both arms, snaps them. Bones sticking out, blood everywhere. It's just catastrophic. So I get the phone call. They get him to the ER. I go to the ER. I had to look his wife in the eye and tell her that I was responsible because I had not trained them on ladder safety. We just they're construction, they should know. No, that's not how this worked. It's my responsibility. So I looked his wife in the eye and I told her that it was my fault and that it wouldn't happen again. And so every single day since, it's on my mind. How do I solve this? Because I'm not looking another wife in the eye and tell her that it's my fault. That shit's not happening. So you think about it from that perspective. How do we elevate the safety of our team members to where this cannot happen?
It's great that you've tied that desire and goal to something that impactful, because that's really what's made it turn into a positive event for you and something that you've actually probably come through with. What I'll add to it is I'm sure from a economical perspective, your insurance premiums are significantly lower. That adds
our insurance company loves us.
Yeah, that adds more money to your bottom line. What you do with that money then, with your culture that you've built, is give back to those employees and give back to the different charities you support in your community. Mm-hmm. And so it's important to not only save that money, but saving that money does things that are even better for those employees. So while you're focused on their safety, you're also allowing yourself and the business to be more profitable, save costs on what otherwise are a huge expense item. The lack of worker safety can increase your insurance premiums to the point where you could go out of business.
For sure.
You need insurance, by the way. And now you've been able to not only create that as an opportunity to keep everybody safe, but you've made yourself more profitable and you've given back to your employees with some of those dollars to do that. So I think that's something that's important. And the client. Yeah.
It's definitely a selling point for us. And we probably don't push this enough, only because we were just so focused on the team members being safe, and we didn't even realize at the time what a selling point that would be. You look at some of these big clients, we got some of these multi-billion-dollar international general contractors that we work for. This is a very key item for them. In fact, it may be one of the key items for them on their list of things that they're looking for in a subcontractor. They got to have safety. They don't need some bullshit on their job. They need to know that when they bring you on their project, the safety's handled. They don't need a problem child. They just know that when Alphapex shows up, we're the safest waterproofers in America. We say that one pretty often because it's factually true. There's not another company that can match our record or our training level when it comes to safety. So I'm assuming, and I hope, that more companies will match that level, because I think that will just elevate our industry as a whole. But at least for now, we definitely are the safest waterproofers in America. And that's a pretty good selling point. When you could put guys on a job site and you could promise that GC, hey, there's not a safer company that you can hire right now. we're going to help you be better at your job.
I think it's a big accomplishment, something you should be proud of. And I also wanted to point out for our listeners to be able to understand the importance of it, but also how it can help them as a business, gain more customers, do a better job, be more profitable. Who would have ever tied job performance and employee safety to those other three items? And they directly relate. So again, kudos to you, man.
It was a very, very expensive process. You know, you think about guys, you pull them out of the field. You got the cost of the training, of course, but then it's the hours that they're sitting in that training that they can't be out producing revenue for the company. So it was a very expensive process. I don't think you can say safety is ever too expensive because it's working. And so from that standpoint, we're very happy we had the opportunity and the idea to do it. So I would suggest it for everybody. It's a big bullet to bite, but I think you should consider it.
Well, to your point, what was 2 broken arms could have easily been 2 people dead if it was a little higher up and a different job, a little longer. If you didn't have safety protocols in place today with the type of work and the type of jobs you're doing, it could have easily been a 20-foot scaffolding instead of a 2-foot ladder.
Right. That's a great point you bring up. Like at that time, we were working on smaller projects. We're a much smaller company, 3 people. And now we're working on high rises all across Texas. And yeah, that's a slip, trip, or fall from 33 stories up. There's no coming back from that one.
Yeah. Man, this has been an awesome conversation, Charles. I really appreciate your time on this. I think you fit the bill perfectly, and you didn't disappoint. So thank you so much for being so open and honest and sharing all the great value you have for us and our customers and clients.
Man, it was a pleasure. So thanks for putting up with my monotone and my asshole nature as we work through this, just trying to make subcontracting better.
You're a nice asshole. I think your wife is right.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Scott.
You're welcome, man. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you soon.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you like the show, please take a moment to subscribe and leave us a review. Thank you so much for your support. It means a lot. If you'd like to learn more about mobilization funding, visit us at mobilizationfunding.com. And we'll see you next time right here on the Real MF'ers.